G'day and welcome to Inside the Spa Business. My name's Trent Munday and the aim with the show here is pretty simple. My plan each week is to bring you information, advice and insights on a whole range of topics that are in and around and related to the spa and wellness industry. I really do appreciate you taking the time to come on in and have a listen. And if you like what you hear, I'd love it if you head on over to the iTunes store and leave a rating and a comment. I'll reply to every comment we get, of course. And while you're there, you might as well subscribe so that you can keep updated with each new episode. Special thanks to Mick and Carly Simmons over at Spa Sounds for providing the background music that you're going to hear throughout each episode. Smooth, soothing sounds just like that is what you'll get over at spasounds.com.au, where they've got all your spa music needs covered. Pretty much everything from a single digital download to a fully customized collection for your spa. So head on over to spasounds.com.au, tell them Trent sent you, and I know they'll take good care of you.
And here we are already at episode 6. And today I wanted to touch on a question that I get asked quite a bit from hotel developers particularly, but also from hotel management companies. And the question is around, when do you appoint the spa operator? And a lot of times the conversation starts with the assumption that the hotel operator must come first and then the spa operator comes later. And oftentimes that is the right answer, but not always. And I think the most critical part of this whole conversation is no matter what happens, who you decide to appoint first, hotel or spa, the important thing is when it comes time to design the spa, that's when you want to get input from your spa operator. It seems like an obvious thing to say, but invariably it doesn't get done. A lot of times the assumption is that the hotel operator is able to plan for the spa, or the architect can design it because he knows how to design spas, but that's not always the case. So I guess the word of encouragement, given the amount of times we've been in this situation ourselves, where we've walked into a project a bit later on in the process, and even if the spa hasn't yet been built, if it's already been designed and if parts of the rest of the resort have already been built or the hotel has already been built, then it's much harder and sometimes impossible to make changes. So regardless of what happens, the word of warning, I guess, or the advice is to make sure you appoint the spa operator before you go through the planning process. Some people decide they might bring in a consultant, for instance, for the planning process, which can be okay. But invariably, the operator will have their own specific ways of doing things, and so there will definitely be elements that operator would like to have in place. So if at all possible, please appoint the spa operator before you get into the planning process, and then you should have a lot more chance of success in your overall spa concept. So with that said, let's get on with the show.
So over the years, I've had many conversations with investors and developers working on new hotel projects. As with most hotels these days, their project is going to feature a spa, so they reach out to me for some advice on how best to conceive and implement this particular component of the project. And before I can answer their questions, I usually have a few of my own. The first question I ask is whether or not the hotel operator has been appointed. Many hotel brands, for example, have their own ideas about what a hotel spa should be. Indeed, a number of hotel brands even have their own spa brands and concepts. In these situations, the hotel will, at the very least, want to ensure that they have input into the spa development. In the case where they have their own spa brands, they'll probably want to operate the spa themselves. So these things are important when I'm having these initial conversations. Assuming the developer has yet to appoint either a hotel operator or a spa operator, my next question is which one is more important to the project? Is it the spa or is it the hotel? In some projects, the spa is the most critical component, even more so sometimes in the hotel. The spa is not just a USP in these cases, but it is in fact the core product. And this would be true, say, in a destination spa or a wellness project. However, more often than not, it's the hotel operator which is the most important appointment that they have to make. And if this is the case, my advice to the developer is to make the hotel appointment first, before they worry about the spa operator or the spa consultant. Because otherwise, everything that has just been put in place could be thrown out when the hotel operator is appointed, because their respective visions just don't align. There's another good reason for appointing the hotel operator first. As a spa operator, I actually want to know who's running the hotel before I commit to the spa. I want to be sure it's an internationally known brand with a solid reputation. The main attraction, after all, of operating a spa inside a hotel is the captive audience of the hotel guests. And if the hotel is not of a good standard, it kind of follows that the guests won't be great for the spa either. And whilst there may be potential to attract also guests from outside the hotel, these guests are usually more difficult and much more expensive to acquire than those that are in the hotel. There's also a number of operational issues that often require a close working relationship between the operator of the spa and the hotel operator. If the two parties can't work together effectively, the spa business and the guest experience is going to suffer. In many cases, the spa operator will have a revenue or a profit share with the hotel in lieu of rent. Even if the arrangement is a pure rental agreement, the hotel guests still want to be able to charge their spa treatment to their room account, rather than having to pay for it separately when they go to the spa. And this means the hotel is receiving the payment from the guest. So now the spa operator needs to invoice the hotel for their share of that guest payment. And if the relationship's not good, then all sorts of issues can arise. And I can tell you from first-hand experience, this situation can often lead to a lot of angst between the hotel and the spa operator. So if neither the hotel management company nor the spa management company has been appointed, owners and developers will often turn to a spa consultant in the early stages of a project. And whilst this is certainly a better option than having nobody overseeing the spa development, it too can make things sometimes more complicated once the eventual spa operator joins the project. You see, most established spa operators have their own preferred systems and processes, and this extends to everything from design to facilities to operating equipment all the way through to procedures. So the more of these things that have been confirmed prior to their involvement, the more potential there is for a disconnect. Another key consideration is that much of the work that the spa consultant does for a project for a fee would actually be done by the spa operator at no cost. So effectively, the developer can save themselves money in the long run if they just appoint the spa operator and decide on that appointment up front rather than waiting for a consultant to help them out. So as a general rule, my advice to developers is to decide on the hotel management first, then the spa management. And then if it's decided to appoint a third party to manage the spa, I would absolutely advise appointing the spa operator as soon as possible rather than doing it later, after the design's done or after a consultant has been appointed. It just makes life so much easier.
And there you have it, my 2 cents on when to appoint the spa operator for your next hotel spa project. Would love to hear what you've got to say. If you wanted to head on over to trentmonday.com, you'll find the show notes for today's episode, where I'll also leave any useful links if I find any particular information that I think might be useful for you. And if you'd like to leave a comment there, let me know what you think. That'd be great. You can also head on over to the iTunes store and leave a rating and a review if you feel so inclined. Of course, I'll be greatly appreciative of that. And in next week's episode, I want to delve into a little topic I call the conundrum of skincare products. And basically what I mean by that is that spas often turn to product houses, to skincare companies, to provide them with their innovation for their spa. Because often spas will turn to skincare companies, to product houses, to provide them with that innovation. Innovation is something that we feel is demanded of us. Not necessarily sure that consumers always demand it, but I think in terms of keeping up with the competition and in terms of keeping our host hotels happy, then I think they always look to us for innovation. And innovation is something that is not easy to do. It's time consuming, it's expensive, and it takes a lot of resource in general. So that's why, as a result, we often turn to skincare companies to maybe help us out. And a lot of times that works great, but we also need to consider the perspective of those skincare companies. They also have an edict or a requirement, if you like, to be able to sell more product. That's why they're there. And we'll also have a look at the distributor model and how that plays into the whole relationship. Because oftentimes you're not buying your spa products from the manufacturer themselves or from the owner of the skincare company. You're buying them from a local distributor. And that's the person who will really determine your level of support that you get throughout the course of the year. And it's probably the most important part of the whole conversation is not necessarily the price or even maybe how innovative the products are, but it's really how much training and support you get from your local distributor. So tune in again next week and we'll take a look at that. Thanks again for your time. Thanks for listening. And we look forward to having you back again next week. Bye for now.